All right, now we'll move to the community business, and that's the second reading of a public hearing for ordinance number 25-910.518. That has to do with the comprehensive plan.
Judge Vogel, Magistrates, County Attorney Baxter, thank you for having us before you today for the second reading and public hearing for the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, titled Keeping Oldham County on Track. I know you all have had the 165-page document now for a while. So we'll start with what is the comprehensive plan. And Judge Vogel talked about this a little bit already, but KRS Chapter 100 tells us that every 5 years we have to take a look at the comprehensive plan and see if there's things that need to be changed and go from there. So it's a long-range document, usually covers that span of 5 years and outlines a community's vision for its future, including recommendations, and we'll look at future land use maps later, but also things such as land use, transportation, economic development, and community facilities. So the parts of the comprehensive plan, according to KRS 100.187, it does have several different parts of this. I'm not going to cover this super in depth because you're going to see these as we go through this entire presentation. And its purpose and function, once again, it's mandatory for zoning ordinances. Any county that has a zoning ordinances has to have a comprehensive plan. Does provide public input to ensure it reflects the needs and desires of the community's residents and stakeholders. And we're going to talk about that process that we went through over the course of, really, we started this last November. So we've been at this now as a staff for a little over a year working on this in our office. Provides that long-range vision and then also the legal framework that provides those grounds for the rezonings and the other things that come before you all that you're familiar with. All right, now to the goals and objectives. So the goals and objectives. So what I'm going to do on the goals and objectives, you're going to see obviously goals and objectives for transportation, community facilities, and things like that. What I'm not going to do today is show all the different pages of the objectives. And so if we have questions on objectives, and you all have questions when we get to that, we can go through these slides and do them. But if not, we will definitely be here for about 2.5 or 3 hours of me going through all these objective slides. So I'm going to hit the goal slide simply because when you have council show up at planning commission hearings or before you all, they talk about the goals most of the time, a good 98% of the time, 99% of the time, they will talk about the goals that they hope to achieve through their development. And they'll say they're in compliance with goal LU-1. And most of the time they don't get into the objectives. But like I said, I'm more than welcome to entertain those if you all do have questions about those. And those obviously are in the packet that you were provided. The first four are the land use goals and objectives. So you'll see there, provide for planned and orderly growth to protect land from premature or unsuitable development. Number 2, promote a diverse range of housing opportunities. 3, strengthen our local community by expanding employment opportunities that diversify tax revenues, support community facilities and services, and provide job opportunities for Oldham County residents. Transportation goals and objectives. There's 3 of these. Our environment goals and objectives. Now you will see here when we look at the 2019 to 2025 comparison of what we have, you can see in 2019 they differentiated those out between water quality, air quality, land preservation, and light distribution. We sort of took all of those and kind of meshed them into one goal that deals with all of those that we want to protect. Our next section is community facilities goals and objectives. Economic development goals and objectives. Number 1 is to expand Oldham County's economy through business growth and job creation. Number 2, encourage business development that enhances Oldham County's quality of life. And 3, pursue expanded infrastructure for the benefit of residents and a growing business community. Tourism goals and objectives. One thing about tourism is that was a completely new section. Now we're getting to, I think, what is my last part, thank goodness. So we'll get into talking about the plan elements. So that concludes kind of that goals and objectives portion. We'll get into plan elements, and I'm going to talk about the future land use portion of this and the future land use map, as well as the proposed both minor and major changes that we're recommending. So the first one, if we look at the current future land use map. So this is the current future land use map as we have it now. And I'm going to note a couple things on this slide. One is you see a lot of different dark green and light green colors. Okay, I'm going to talk about that real briefly. And that is the dark green is agriculturally zoned on the future land use map. So the future land use of that map or that tract is proposed to be agricultural. Chances are that's probably used that way now. There's not too many places where we go future land use right now is residential, and in the future we think it'll be agricultural. Unfortunately, that's not the way we see development work. The light green is conservation zoning, okay? I understand that that's completely different, and we're going to talk about steep slopes, and we're going to talk about waterways, but in the zoning world, okay, in the zoning world, if you look at agricultural zoning and you look at conservation zoning, the requirements are the same. You'll see that one of our changes that we made was to combine all of those green colors into one dark green color, meaning it's agricultural and rural. That is all of our agricultural and conservation land mixed into one, because at the end of the day, those zoning requirements are exactly the same. So that's one of the big changes that you're going to see when we look at our new map. You're going to go, well, it looks a lot different. Well, that's one of the big changes. So the proposed future land use map, and as you can see, it's a lot darker green now. So we'll go over just a few of the minor changes. One of them, we cleaned up some parcel discrepancy. I won't get too in-depth into that. There was some errors on the original future land use map, because when you go to click a parcel to change the future land use, you have to click all 4 corners, and a corner got missed. And so one of them was we just cleaned up some errors that were in there. I talked about the coloring for the agricultural and the rural, and the conservation future land use designations, and then creating that brighter green for the conservation future land use designation. And then the other thing we did, it's probably hard to see on your all's copy as well as on the ones up here, but we labeled various in progress and approved developments to just kind of help in labeling. So if you wanted to look at that map and go, I have no idea where I'm looking, you could find, oh, there's Clore Station. Okay, I know where I'm at now. So we labeled those to just kind of help and a little bit assist people in finding where they're located at in the county. Now we'll talk about the few future land use changes that are proposed, kind of the major changes that we would look at, and I don't think there's anything here that's going to make you necessarily fall out of your seat. So the first property, KSR. This is one probably isn't going to be a shocker to you as we talk about the prison possibly decommissioning and going away, is that what's going to happen to that property. Now keep in mind that's not the entire prison property, that the other 2 facilities there are going to remain in operation. So that front half is really what we're talking about. We know that's state-owned property. So really we have no clue, at least I don't have any clue of what that potentially could be. And so we thought the best use of that would be mixed use, because that provides us some flexibility on whether or not that could be commercial, it could be industrial. There may be a residential component if there's a master plan type of development, similar to an Oldham Reserve, where there's different types of industry that are proposed in there. So mixed use just gave us most flexibility to kind of, since we don't know what the talk is there, or even if within the next 5 years, for all we know, the prison may still be in operation. So we put that as mixed use. The other parcel is Clayton and Lambert property, right across from the high school. You all know, because you all have heard these zoning map amendments, that we've had a couple within the last 3 to 4 years that have changed that property from industrial to commercial. And so our thought is that entire corridor there will eventually become commercial, that the industrial opportunity there in that sector, especially once the roadway changes, if that even occurs within the next 5 years and the new alignment comes in there with 393, that the potential for commercial development in that area is probably greater than a potential for industrial development. And you've seen that with the orthodontics place. You had the Oldham County Entertainment Center come forth. You've already got the gas station on the corner. So just the thought that we may potentially see more commercial there than industrial. The Commerce Parkway extension, in the current plan, that is shown as industrial. We have proposed to change that to a mix of commercial and industrial. So that's the third one. And the fourth one is the area of Highway 22 and Highway 393. And I know this has generated a little bit of input. This is essentially just that corner property there that's maybe a couple properties in that area at the corner of Highway 22 and Highway 393. And we're proposing that change from ag rural to commercial. A couple other areas, and a lot of these were just cleanup where either it was on there as future subdivision and subdivisions have been built, or you start to look at areas when subdivisions get built, you start to look at infill development. So you've got a subdivision here and a subdivision here, and you've got nothing here. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go, well, guess what probably is going to happen is subdivision there. So a lot of these, the Jericho Road, and then you'll see Holly Gibson in a second, are basically because either neighborhoods have been built and we had to change the future land use to reflect that, or you start to look at possible infill development there because there's subdivisions that are already in. So you can see those highlighted here. What the future land use map does provides options for owners of properties without stripping them of their existing property rights. So you can be a farm owner and you can continue to farm your land, but also that same farm owner that decides that they don't want to farm anymore and the family doesn't want to farm and wants to sell to a developer still possibly has that right to do so. So it doesn't strip anybody of their existing property rights, but also provides them some options as an owner of a property. It gives the community and its residents a general idea of what to expect. If we look at this future land use map, we can maybe start to expect what type of development may occur in certain areas of the county. And then it makes decision making a little less arbitrary. And so in section 9, we now have a new supplemental resources section. So that contains any type of maybe traffic study, any type of master plan, such as the Crestwood one, such as the Brownsboro master plan. So as we look at development on Commerce Parkway, we look at things that happen on Highway 22, we would want to account for all of these various plans that are going to be stored in this kind of one-stop shop area. And then the best slide, the one that says, thank you. I'm done talking for a minute.
We will pick up now with testimony from those who are would like to respond to the presentation made by the Planning Commission. If there's anybody who would like to stand in, I guess we'll say, support, probably. Anybody want to stand in support what they heard, or do you want most of you want to talk in opposition to some aspect of it? That's what I'm assuming. So.
Judge, it might be appropriate if you swear them all in.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, and before you get there, Judge, I do want to remind the magistrates that what is before you today for consideration is not the plan elements. It is the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan is what you all have to vote on at the end of this. So while Ryan and Anna talked about a lot of the plan elements, those have been adopted by the Planning Commission as a part of the plan. The way the statute reads, it's KRS 100-197, what is presented to the planning unit, and so that goes to the incorporated cities and also to the county on the unincorporated parts of the county, is for consideration is the goals and objectives. So when listening to the testimony that you're going to hear, you need to be thinking about how the interplay with that as it relates to the goals and objectives. Okay, so I wanted to clarify that as we go forward because that's what is to be considered by the court.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, then we'll go on to the court now and see if there is a motion. First, let's get a motion on the floor. Is there a motion to approve the comprehensive plan as presented by the Planning Commission? Jeffries.
Yes, sir. I would like to move, at least to get it on the floor for discussion, that we approve ordinance number KOC 25-910-518, an ordinance repealing and replacing the existing Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. And whereas the Oldham County Fiscal Court has the authority pursuant to provisions of KRS 67-100 and other applicable law to adopt and amend ordinances, and whereas the Oldham County Planning Zoning Commission did adopt the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, including the goals and objectives statement and plan elements on October 9th, 2025, and whereas by law, Oldham County Planning and Zoning Commission is required to review the comprehensive plan every 5 years and upon review, make recommendations to fiscal court for amendment, revision to the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. And whereas Oldham County Fiscal Court did advertise and conduct a public hearing on the revised Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, and said fiscal court having voted to adopt said revised Oldham County Comprehensive Plan at its regular meeting conducted on November 18th, 2025. Therefore be it ordained by the fiscal court of the County of Oldham, Commonwealth of Kentucky, that 1, the present goals and objectives of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan adopted by ordinance 21-910-71 on February 16, 2021, in its entirety is hereby replaced. 2, the following is enacted as the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, replacing the previous Oldham County Comprehensive Plan in its entirety, containing both the goals and objective statements and plan elements. And I would move that, Judge.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. We support the comprehensive plan as presented. Magistrate Logston.
Yes, Ryan, I have a few questions. Barry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot ask anything about the map itself, correct? We're just here about goals and objectives?
Well, I'm not telling you what you can ask or can't ask. What you're voting on is the goals and objectives.
So I can ask the questions then.
So if you ask a question, but again, you know, what you're supposed to be
understand.
deciding is the goals and objectives.
I get it. My question is, what? I'm going to ask, if I don't ask these questions, I can't vote on the map, okay?
You're not voting on the map.
I'm not, okay, I can't vote on this plan then, because I think that when we removed a lot of the conservation on the map and put it in agricultural,
Well, we're not removing conservation. So don't get that mixed up. We're not removing conservation. We essentially created it to be one color. The zoning stays the same. If your zoning of your property today is conservation,
okay.
whether it's future land use, agriculture, conservation or not, nothing changes there.
why did we change the color of the map then? Just asking.
To have less color and based on public input that we received at the public meetings and additional meetings privately with individuals who requested that.
Okay.
And I hate to interrupt, but remember, this is the future land use map. This is a plan element. This is not the adopted zoning map that they have in the Planning and Development Office.
Next thing, I've brought this up many and many times about the red pen dump. I really think there needs to be something designated for that in this current plan. It's a problem. It's been a problem. Mr. Clark, Mr. Jeffries, and I came and talked about this. I really, truly believe we need to put something in there about that. When you look at this plan, I think it needs to have something there showing that that is, you know, one of the top, I've been told, top 5 Superfund cleanups in the United States. So,
Magistrate Hawkins.
Can we turn back to about page 11? And while we're doing that, I wanted to just thank you all for all of the extensive work and community meetings and the website and all that. I know a lot of work has been put into this. I'd like the mission statement to reflect a lot of what the community stated. The community stated they'd like to see the environment protected and a lot of green space. That was more than half of that pie chart. So in the mission statement, I would like it to say on the second line, create a balance between responsible growth, economic vitality, and green space preservation while ensuring that the county remains a desirable place to live and work. I'd like to add that as part of our mission statement and green space preservation, since that was so important in all of the community feedback.
Are you going to add that to the motion? Because we're going to make
Yeah.
changes. We have to have amendments to the motion for the changes, right?
Sure.
I don't know. I'm asking
Yeah.
a question. I'm asking, sorry.
Is there
I was talking to Magistrate Hawkins. That's a general question, not just directed at her.
Right. statements, if you want something added to this, you're going to have to make a statement.
Well, respectfully,
Get a
Judge,
second.
though, that's not a goal or objective. So the mission statement is not one of the goals or objectives, and you all are here to address the goals and objectives. This plan has been adopted by the Planning Commission. It has been formally adopted by the City of LaGrange in this format. So you all are free to have different goals and objectives, but the mission statement is not a goal or objective. It is a mission statement, and it was adopted by the Planning Commission, and it's not something that's subject to what we're here about right now.
So how would we even move forward with goals and objectives if we don't know our mission statement or our vision or our
I'm just telling you what the
goals or-
statute says, Magistrate. I'm not saying you can't change goals and objectives. I'm saying you can't change the plan elements. You can't change the mission statement. You can't, what the statute specifically says is that the fiscal court is to be presented with the goals and objectives, and they are to vote on the goals and objectives.
I'm going to reference what a few pages ahead, what Magistrate Woosley stated. Encourage preservation of land for agricultural use. I feel like there should be a period right there because anything else is satisfied through our zoning ordinances. And if this is a goal and not a zoning ordinance, then that should be struck. Would that be satisfactory to you to strike that, Magistrate Jeffries and Magistrate Likens?
No, if you want to amend it, you could do an amendment, propose an amendment. If you get a second, then it can be voted on, but I won't agree to that language because they've already, Planning Commission has already approved it. City of LaGrange has already approved it. So I think we're opening ourselves up, as our county attorney has pointed out. We're pretty limited on what changes that we can suggest or whatever. But yes, I won't accept that. I mean, I think it could be done. It could be handled through an amendment.
I can go on. I don't know if there's any kind of appetite to take that on. There is an appetite to take that on? Okay.
I don't know what we'll do this, we have to change it, does have to go back to range?
No, because we're the buck stops here body. I wouldn't have to go back to Planning Commission.
They haven't approved whatever we changed, right, Barry?
It doesn't apply to the City of LaGrange. City of LaGrange is an incorporated city, and they've adopted the goals and objectives as they are stated in this document that Ryan's providing you. So it applies to the City of LaGrange. If Crestwood adopts it this way, it applies to Crestwood. It would not be a goal or objective. If it's changed, it'd just be a different goal or objective for the unincorporated parts of the county.
Okay, I'd like to amend this page LU-1-3 to strike the wording when it does not infringe on the development rights of property owners.
Second.
Well, what? No.
Well, open it up for discussion.
All right, discussion.
Amendment.
6-3.
Motion fails 6-3.
Okay.
Amendment.
Amendment fails.
Amendment fails, yeah.
I wanted to bring up something that's pretty important to me that I received a lot of feedback about. And I will start with, I will preface it with this goal. It says goal LU1, provide for planned and orderly growth to protect land from premature or unsuitable development. I'm going to highlight the word premature and the word unsuitable. And so then I'll take you then to the second to the last page, all the way to the end, remembering the premature or unsuitable development goal. And I'll take you to what we've talked about, Highway 22 and Highway 393. And when I take you there, the current future land use over the last 5 years has that northeast corner of 393 and Highway 22 as ag. There's a current house there, and it's been future land use agricultural. What's proposed today is commercial. The premature and unsuitable both applies to this intersection here. So I don't think this map fits in with our goals and objectives. The future land use already at the south side of that intersection has been commercial, and that has still remained ag or residential. So therefore, I think changing this northeast corner of that intersection to commercial from ag, where it's currently residential, on ag, would be premature and unsuitable. So I would like to amend that we revert, or not revert, we keep,
We're not doing map changes.
so I can't do anything about
It's a
that.
goal and objectives.
I'm gonna let him
Only
answer.
goals and objectives.
So that, when the motion was made, it said that we will adopt the goals, objectives, the plan, the whole comp plan, and eradicate what happened February 2021 with the comp plan, adopt the current comp plan. So if we're only adopting that, the goals and objective, the motion didn't reflect that, as I heard it.
Correct. The plan, the map is part of the plan elements, and the plan elements were adopted by the Planning Commission on October the 9th, right? So those have been adopted by the Planning Commission. Planning Commission had a public hearing about all this. People had an opportunity to get up and speak. There was people that got up and spoke at that hearing, and you are limited by statute to the goals and objectives.
And the motion reflects that.
The motion reflects that, yes.
I'll say this to answer your question about that parcel of land. Whether or not the future land use states that its future could be commercial, you all would have the purview of a zoning map amendment that comes before you to at that point then determine if that property is suitable for the zoning change, because ultimately that lays in your court. Now, Planning Commission is going to recommend approval or denial, but at the end of the day, if you say, you know what, that other side of 22 hasn't developed commercially yet, you all have got that in your purview to hear that case when it comes before you. So whether or not the future land use map changes here today to reflect we may see that in 5 years be commercial, we know in the last 5 years that other side hasn't become commercial either. So that almost gets into that spot zoning, even though it's spot zoning just down the road, as opposed to spot zoning just way out in the open. But you all would get to hear that case.
But you know as well as I do that if that were to come before us, it's going to be hard pressed for this body to deny that, historically speaking. And additionally, attorneys for whoever is going to propose that will bring this up, put it out there in our faces and say, look, it follows this guide that you all have adopted, the body has adopted. And they'll say it multiple times. That is their main argument when somebody comes before us for a zoning change. And oftentimes the opposition to it doesn't have attorneys that are versed in our comp plan. So, let's see, if we're sticking just to the goals and objectives here. As I understand it, while I'm flipping through this, according to the KRS, this body does, after we adopt the goals and objectives, we adopt the comp plan as well. But it sounds like you're saying that's not the case if we have a planning commission. I don't know if that's,
I think
as
you
I
said
read
that.
the KRS, we do eventually adopt.
Magistrate, I can argue with you about this. I mean, the reality of it is the way that Oldham County has chosen to do it is in excess of state law. This could have been done, you didn't have to have a public hearing, which you did, which there's no problem with that, but by statute, you're not required to have a public hearing about this. This could have been adopted by way of resolution because the goals and objectives are not, we just do it different. We have an ordinance process that we go through when we do this. That is not what's required by the statute. I called Keiko about this. I talked to them. I talked to 2 other lawyers out of Northern Kentucky about this. You know, we are exceeding what the state law requires. Nothing wrong with doing that. I'm not suggesting there is, but we are exceeding that. But I mean, the comprehensive plan, the goals and objectives by statute are what is reviewed by the fiscal court. I mean,
So the elements and the map changes that are proposed,
and I'm gonna parse that word a little bit. They're not proposed. They've been adopted by the Planning Commission. Okay, the plan elements, which include the future land use map, have been adopted by the Planning Commission. So what you all are tasked with is reviewing the goals and objectives, and that's what you're going to be voting on, is whether or not what to do about the goals and objectives. You can change those goals and objectives. That's certainly within your power. And so we would have different goals, and it's okay. We have different goals and objectives for the unincorporated part of the county than we do for the city of LaGrange.
so if I may finish that sentence, what was proposed by, talking about the elements in the future land use map, what was proposed by Planning and Development to the Planning Commission goes no further. That will never come before us, according to the KRS, ever?
Correct.
Do you think we should have adopted the goals and objectives before they went ahead and adopted the elements that sort of support those goals and objectives?
That's not what the statute says. So that's not what the statute says.
It says
So
put the cart before the horse. Okay.
All right, reread the motion, please.
Okay. The motion on the floor is ordinance to approve ordinance number KOC 25-910-518, an ordinance repealing and replacing the existing Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, whereas the Oldham County Fiscal Court has the authority pursuant to the provisions of KRS Chapter 67-100 and other applicable law to adopt and amend ordinances, and whereas the Oldham County Planning and Zoning Commission did adopt the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, including the goals and objectives statement and plan elements, on October 9th, 2025, and whereas by law, the Oldham County Planning and Zoning Commission is required to review the comprehensive plan every 5 years, and upon review, make recommendations to fiscal court for amendment, revision to the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, and whereas Oldham County Fiscal Court did advertise and conduct a public hearing on the revised Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, and said fiscal court, having voted to adopt said revised Oldham County Comprehensive Plan at its regular meeting conducted November 18th, 2025. Now therefore be it ordained by the fiscal court of the County of Oldham, Commonwealth of Kentucky, that the present goals and objectives of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, adopted by Ordinance 25-910-71 on February 16, 2021, in its entirety, is hereby replaced. And then number 2, the following is enacted as the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, replacing the previous Oldham County Comprehensive Plan in its entirety, containing both the goals and objectives statements and plan elements.
I'll re-second Magistrate Jeffries'
You
motion.
second that? All right, so.
So we
All
are,
right.
you're asking us to actually approve the plan, not just the goals and objectives, according to the resolution.
Right.
No.
Well, that's what we have to approve, is to go, that we're approving the whole plan, but
Number 2 part of that says that that the following is enacted as the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, replacing the previous Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. Yes, sir. In its entirety, containing both the goals and objectives and plan elements.
I don't have to have my fingerprint on this. 50 people's looked at it before. There's 50 people that have looked at it.
I agree. I don't think the last part of it.
Number 2.
I think that this last part of it is goals and objective statements, and then period.
Okay. So we would just put a period and drop and plan elements?
Yes.
So
okay.
is that a, Brent, were you second? I mean,
I'll
you were-
second that, yes, sir.
All right. You got it, Holly? Get confusing here. All right, we'll call the roll, please. In a moment.
That's the.
Magistrate Helms,
Yes.
Magistrate Hawkins,
This is not to insult. You all have done an amazing job and put a lot of time and effort into it, and I appreciate that, and it looks great. The cover looks great. I'm a no today.
Magistrate Dye,
Yes.
Magistrate Woosley,
No.
Magistrate Jeffries,
Yes.
Magistrate Likens,
Yes.
Magistrate Tice,
Yes.
Magistrate Logston, Judge Vogel,
Yes.
6-3.
The ordinance passes 6-3.
Well, to open up another can of worms, they say that when you have nothing nice to say, you shouldn't say it at all. But Merry Christmas to everybody. But this plan right here, I understand we had to follow KSR rules.
ARS.
KRS rules. Excuse me. KRS rules. But I was given this to read, and I only could vote on the goals and objectives. So all this other stuff that I marked that I didn't think was right, I had no say on it at all. So whenever somebody comes and questions me, I'm going to have to say, well, planning and zoning did. Well, you're ahead of that. So, it all falls back on us, but we were only able to do just a certain part of this plan. So, again, I understand there's rules and there's regulations, but I just don't agree with that. And Ryan, thank you and Anna for what y'all did. You worked, and everybody else that worked on this did a great job. There was parts of the thing that I thought needed to be changed. So that's why I voted no. It had nothing to do with your all's ability and what y'all did. It just had to do with some of the things in there that I didn't think was right.